Good evening, everybody. Good evening. It's so good to see some familiar faces and some new faces. That's wonderful. I'm excited to get this new year off to a wonderful start. Now is the time that we want to prepare for our spring and summer bodies. So we're at a perfect place to get ourselves in order. And one of the things that I really advocate in regards to health and nutrition, like most things in life, that there's a hierarchy. There's a hierarchy of importance, whether you're working for an organization, whether you're in the military, whether you're in a family structure, there's a hierarchy of importance in regards to your health and nutrition. And so, of course, my focus on the nutritional arena. Now, in regards to hierarchy, I just want to do a review. I'm not going to do exactly what I did last time because I know there are some people that have already been in this class before, but I like to make sure that we have the basics. Like any academic studies, we need to all be on the same page as far as the basics and the platform that we're standing on, that we're resting on. So this will be a little review for some of you who haven't been in my class before. And so for the older students, I want your participation. I want to see what you remember and contribute. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions and, feel free to unmute to give a response because I don't want it to just be me talking. I want you to, use your intellectual capacity and, give some answers as well. So in terms of the most important thing that this planet needs and us being occupants of this planet, what's the most important thing that we need in order to survive here on this planet? Without it, there would be no life on this planet. Somebody tell me what that thing is.
Water.
Well, water is important, but it's not the most important thing. It's one of
Someone said oxygen.
Even before oxygen. If we didn't have this, there'd be no life on the planet. There'd be no oxygen on the planet. There'd be no life on the planet.
Marjorie says air.
Before air.
Sunlight.
The sun.
We need that sun.
Exactly.
Where would we be without the sun? We'll be another rock floating around in space, right? We need the sun. Oftentimes it gets underrated in terms of its importance. There are all kinds of lights and elements that come from the sun, and we're going to talk about it in a bit more detail in another class. So getting sunlight is vital to your health and your well-being on a number of different levels, and we'll talk about that at another point. After the sun, you already said it. What comes next after the sun?
Oxygen.
That's right, oxygen. Don't be afraid to say it. Oxygen. Yeah. We have to breathe. We can do without air for how long?
Not long.
Not very long at all.
Before I pass out.
Exactly. Exactly. That just goes to show you how important it is. And one of the things that I want to say in terms of nutrition, it's not rocket science. A lot of times we live in a technical, era and communication, and we have all kinds of information coming at us all the time through our devices. But basic nutrition is not complicated. So we've got the sun, we've got the air that we breathe. We take it for granted. We need to be taking in a good amount of oxygen, and we're going to be getting that in when we exercise, when we go for a walk. We want to make sure that we're breathing oxygen into our lungs because oxygen does so many things of importance, and I'll go back over those things with you. After the oxygen, what do we need? The next most important thing we need? Water, absolutely. We are mostly water, just like the earth. Just like the earth is almost 70% water, so are we. Yes. A lot of times we think we're fatty beings, but we're actually watery beings. We have a lot more water than we do have fat. And it's important to make sure that just like we bathe outside to keep ourselves clean and fresh, we need to do the same thing for our internal organs. We have to make sure that we're drinking copious amounts of water because water does so many different things for our body internally. And we'll go back and review that as well. After water, we've got the sun, we've got oxygen, we've got water. What comes next after water in terms of importance?
Food.
There we go, food.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about just putting anything that goes in our mouth, food, because a lot of things that some people put in their bodies, I wouldn't even qualify as food, right? We want those things that are actually going to be nourishing our bodies, right? Things that go in and that are actually going to convert to blood and our cells in our body, as opposed to it being something that is burdensome to our bodies, that our body is scrambling to get rid of and break down and find somewhere for it to go, right? So we want to make sure that we're nurturing ourselves with healthy foods. After foods, then what comes next?
Entertainment for mental health.
Well, you touched on something. So entertainment.
Rest. Yes.
So we could
Rest. Yeah.
set, well, right before, right in between that, I would say that's where you would kind of interject maybe supplements, right? So if you're eating good foods and we do the best we can to eat the best quality foods, sometimes we need supplementation also. So that's where supplements would come in, right? Your vitamins, your minerals, your different, nutritional supplements to make sure that you get what you need as an individual. We all come into the world with various constitutional strengths and weaknesses, according to our family lineage. We know that there's certain illnesses that might run in our family line. So if we know we have a predisposition to certain types of ailments, we want to make sure that we're taking the kind of supplementation that would prevent those kind of things from popping up. You don't want to wait until you get to be a certain age where most folks in the family start developing certain types of illnesses. So that's one of the benefits of having your family history. So you know what to be ready for, what to strengthen in your body, just being proactive and being preventative about your care. But yes, after that, we say entertainment, but I'm going to say relaxation, and monitoring your stress, right? Because entertainment helps us to kind of modulate those stress levels. So doing things that bring us joy, do those things that bring us passion in a healthy way, right? We're not talking about going to extremes. We're not talking about doing things that's going to be harmful to our bodies, but doing things that brings joy. If you like singing, then sing. We're not talking about somebody that's paying you to sing, but if you enjoy singing, then sing. If it's about artwork, if it's about exercise, if it's about storytelling, whatever it is that brings your heart joy, you want to do things that open you up to possibilities of being able to share and be a blessing to somebody. So those are a lot of the things that we need for just basic well-being, our interaction with each other on whatever level that is for you. Some people like being in big crowds, some people like more one-on-one intimate connections, but our connections with each other in whatever way that takes place. We are social beings. Some people say they like being by themselves. Nobody really likes to be by themselves all the time, right? That's cruel and unusual punishment. That's solitary, but to whatever degree you're comfortable with others in your presence, make sure that you're making interpersonal connections. We saw how devastating that was during the pandemic when we were forced to have to be siloed. It was a very, very difficult time emotionally and mentally for many, many of us. Thank God we came with Zoom, so that we can connect each other. So
Right.
that interpersonal connection is really so very, very important. So any other thoughts about things that are good to our well-being?
Sleep.
Absolutely. Sleep. That whole rest piece, right? Getting a restful sleep, right? Because a lot of
Yes.
times people wake up and they're still tired because they haven't really rested well.
That's
And
right.
we'll have a whole class on just rest and relaxation and things that can interfere and things that can enhance our sleep cycle. Very, very essential. And, it's interesting because at one time it was never an issue because decades ago, everything went off. All the electronic devices went off, TV went off the air, radio went off the air, stores were closed. There was no place to go. You weren't going any place, you weren't watching anything, you just went to sleep. But now we're living in a 24/7 kind of environment, and there's always something that we can use to keep ourselves stimulated. So it's become a problem for us to be able to rest and regenerate. Absolutely essential to our well-being. Another form of torture. Keeping somebody awake is a form of torture, right? So not getting sleep can really be devastating for our emotional well-being.
Yes. Yes.
I think we've got all of them. And anybody else have any other suggestions as to what we need for our well-being?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Taking a break from technology sometimes. I think that's good.
Unplugging. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very good. Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So
Sakina
I
had a
wanted
good
to,
one.
huh?
I said Sakina had a good one.
Which one? What was it?
Sex.
Absolutely. I put that in the whole rest and relaxation, drawer. Absolutely. It's necessary. And doing things that you enjoy doing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yes, most definitely. It sounds like we're talking about a holistic approach here.
Absolutely. This is a holistic approach.
Yes.
I wish our doctors were giving us prescriptions in these categories. Like, here's what
Yes.
you need.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to shift gears here. I know we don't have as much time as I planned
Right.
on spending, so I'm not going to go over these in detail in this class, what I just covered. But
Okay.
one thing I did want to touch on is, let me share my screen real quick, Vince. One of the things we're going to be talking about is reading labels, right? And we talked about this in our last class, but I want to just do a quickie overview
Oh,
of
yeah.
things. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, I see it. Does everyone see it? I see it.
Okay. So I don't want to get too focused on what we can't do, but since we're going to be talking about health, there's just certain things I want you to be like aware of as we move forward. I'm going to be encouraging a lot of things that we can do and should be doing, but then also we need to focus on things that we don't really necessarily need and don't want to include in our life and in our diets. So I was talking about things that don't really qualify as food. And so this is a list of items that have been banned in other countries, but are still allowed in the United States.
Good point.
So I want you to get into the habit of looking at the labels. Whatever you pick up, I want you to turn it over and take a look at the ingredient panel. And I'm just going to go over these 11 items. There of course are a number more. There's a lot more, which is why I come back to just trying to eat as clean and as healthy as possible, as natural as possible, because you don't have to pick up an apple and turn it over and read any ingredients.
Right.
You don't want it to have an appeal label on it, but it's a whole nother
Right.
situation there. But so we have dough conditioners, right? And listen, with this class, feel free to take notes because sometimes it's information you may not have heard of and you want to try and remember it. So dough conditioners are things that are in things like breads and donuts and baked goods, and they're used to keep those items soft because you know what happens when you when you leave them in their natural state, they tend to start breaking down. They might get hard, they start breaking down. So this allows things like bread to stay out on the counter for 2 weeks and not decompose, right? So you have things like potassium bromate and other items on here. Many of them are already classified as carcinogens. And as it says here, it's already been banned in China and India, Brazil, the EU, Canada, Australia, Europe. Why do we have to be last?
Right.
Why do we have to be the exception? And that's why I want people to kind of get also, because a lot of times we tend to think that if it's in the store, it should be edible. And that's not the case anymore. There was a time when that was supposed to be the case. It's no longer the case. It's on us now to make sure that we're being detectives and making sure that the things that's on the label make sense to us, because it's not like they're really, really looking out for our health and well-being.
No.
We have brominated vegetable oils, BVO. You'll see that. Originally patented by chemical companies as a flame retardant.
Mm.
But now
Wow.
BVO can be found in certain colorful sport drinks and citrus flavored sodas as an emulsifier. Studies have shown that BVO isn't harmless. It actually accumulates in human tissue, as well as breast milk, and can cause memory loss over time. Bromine toxicity can lead to skin rashes, appetite loss, and heart problems, as well as major organ damage and birth defects. You know, these things are like, you may not taste it, but if they're products that you're using over and over and over again, it can have a cumulative effect.
Yes. Mm.
Propylparaben in the United States is used as a preservative in tortillas, muffins, trail mixes, pies, sausage rolls, and more. Research has found that it can affect sex hormones and sperm count in young rats. Cornell University research has also indicated that exposure to parabens may be linked to breast cancer. Environmental Working Group Senior Analyst Joanna Colleton says it's a great concern to us that the use of endocrine disrupting chemicals in our food is considered safe by our own government. So it's not, bottom line. It's also in cosmetic products. That's another area that we have to be mindful of. You know, we do have choices in terms of cosmetic products.
Yes.
We see this a lot. BHA, BHT, popular man-made antioxidants used in dry mixes, cereals, and dehydrated potato products. You know, these products that you just add water. It's used to increase the shelf life, so it can stay on the shelf for months, years. There are possible carcinogens and endocrine disruptors. Carcinogens are things that cause cancer, meaning that they can alter the normal function of your hormones and lead to disease. They're banned for the use of foods and beverages in the UK, Europe, Japan, and other countries. Synthetic food dyes, you know, we've gone over a number of those before. Anything that says red dye or food dye number, whatever, just put it back. All of them have different kinds of impacts on your body. Like I said, some foods here that contain food dyes include beverages like juice, sports drinks, and sodas, candy and glazes used in baked goods and sweets, even used in silly things like making mustard more yellow, salmon more pink, and jarred pickle the perfect shade of yellow green. And don't even get me started on maraschino cherries. Research has linked consumption of synthetic dyes to an increased risk for numerous conditions like tumors and hyperactivity in children. What's even more infuriating is the US used to use natural food dyes until the mid-19th century, but then food manufacturers realized it was much cheaper to use chemicals, which turned food in even brighter colors. They're banned in Europe, in Australia, where more natural food colors are used. Fanta contains actual fruit juice and is dyed naturally. But Americans enjoy Fanta colored with petroleum-derived artificial dyes like red number 40 and yellow number 6. So there's a big difference between what gets sold here and what gets sold in other countries. But these companies know that they can get away with selling us junk because
Yes.
nobody is watching it. Genetically modified organisms has become much more of an issue over the years. They've been around since the 1980s, and they've become a controversial topic. While they're widespread in the United States, with most U.S. soy, sugar beets, corn, canola, cotton, and alfalfa being GMO crops, many European countries have banned or regulated them due to public safety concerns. One common genetic manipulation involves altering DNA to certain crops to make them resistant to herbicides. That's why they started doing this, because of poor farming practices. And Mother Nature fights back over and over again. It's like, the superbugs. So the more chemicals that men created in order to kill bugs, the more resistant the bugs became. The more the fungus became resistant, the more bacteria became resistant. And so now we have such a resistance that they've decided to go inside the plant instead of trying to douse it outside with all these things they spray and soak them with. They've gone inside and they've altered the genetic makeup of the actual plant. So while it may look like an apple on the outside, genetically it could be a number of different things, which can be scary because you might have something spliced with something that you're allergic to and have no idea that this thing that you're eating, say it's a potato that you're eating, has been genetically modified to something that you are allergic to. That could be a major problem. In addition to the fact that a lot of them are cancer causing as well. One of the most common herbicides used in conjunction with the GMOs is glyphosate, the primary active ingredient in the weed killer Roundup. Glyphosate consumption is linked to cancer. In fact, several people have won cases that allege glyphosate caused their cancer. Bayer, the same aspirin company, the manufacturer of Roundup, is currently fighting cancer lawsuits that involve over 13,000 people. The numbers have definitely gone way up after that, since then. As of June 2019, there were bans on major restrictions on use of glyphosate in Argentina, Australia, Austria, Belgium, Brazil, Canada, Colombia, Czech Republic, Denmark, El Salvador, France, Germany. Why haven't we gotten the notice? Why haven't we gotten the notice?
We
Right.
got the notice. It's just that they have money to, you know, give out government, and they don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Can we get a copy of this?
Yeah, I'm gonna send this out in the video. It'll be in the
Okay.
Skai platform tomorrow.
Okay, this would be good. And it also, the only way that we get people to move is by pushing back on our elected officials.
Yes.
The companies, Bayer, Pfizer, I mean, all these companies have the elected officials in their pocket. They pay them to look the other way. But we have power as people to lean on these people, to have them do what we say. But it really takes a collective voice to do it.
Yes.
Roxasone, the arsenic-based drug, is routinely used in chicken in the United States until July of 2011, when Pfizer decided to stop selling it. However, there's no actual ban on the use of arsenic in the raising of chickens for food. It's used to increase the pink coloring of raw chicken meat, to speed the growth of the birds before their slaughter, and to prevent parasites in the chicken's stomach. Research shows chronic exposure to arsenic can lead to anemia, skin lesions, kidney damage. It can also increase the risk of certain cancers, miscarriages, and birth defects. The EU banned the use of arsenic-based drugs, while many chicken products in the United States still contain it.
Wow.
Again, it has a collective, it builds up in your system. Ractopamine in the United States is a muscle enhancer for pigs, cows, and turkey, and like other harmful substances used during the raising of animals. So, so of course it brings into the light also just the conditions under which the animals that are being eaten are kept. Just torturous conditions under which these animals are raised prior to slaughter. So in addition to eating meat that have, chemicals that have been added to their feed, to their existence, they're also laden with chemicals after they're slaughtered. And, it just adds to challenges for your body. These chemicals don't just go away when the animal is slaughtered. Some is left in the meat that you buy. It's banned in 122 countries, linked to reproductive and cardiovascular damage in humans, as well as chromosomal and behavioral damages. Herbicides, insecticides, fungicides, same thing. Many of them are banned in other countries, but they're not banned here. Olestra is a cholesterol-free fat substitute made by Procter & Gamble. The FDA approved it for use in foods in the 1990s. It's still used in certain potato chips and French fries. May cause extreme unpleasant digestive reactions like diarrhea and leaky bowels and oily gas.
Wow. Amazing.
Synthetic hormones, widely used in the dairy industry. Primary reasons for this to increase milk production. You know, cows have to be kept pregnant in order to lactate. So they give them all kinds of hormones to keep these cows creating milk for their entire lives until they're slaughtered. So, I mean, of course, that leads to other kinds of infections, like it says here, mastitis, other infections, and of course, that compounds the problems because they have to be given antibiotics in order to keep that infection down. So, one of the most important things that you can do is to make sure you read the ingredients, make sure that you are, as these ladies are, read the label. You got your phone, you can always Google it. If it sounds like something that's like, I don't know what this is, you can always look it up and see if it makes sense. Make sure you're not eating things that are banned. Try not to eat processed foods. Organic means that it's not grown with artificial pesticides and insecticides. The closer you eat to natural, the better. Cook food at home as much as you can. That way you have control over the foods that you're eating. And say no to GMOs and the products of factory farms, like these factory farm fish. They're problems, you know? So just wanted to share that with you all as just getting us started for this first session. And I know
Great.
we're running over a bit.
Yes.
I'll hold Carmen back here.
Yes, yeah. This is great though, because I always like to say we need to eat more what God made than what man made, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
That's excellent.
Stop sharing.